It's possible on any given database to have dozens, maybe even hundreds of indexes. And so when we go to execute a query, one of the things that SQL needs to figure out is what indexes and what tables do we want to go retrieve our data from. This is where statistics come into play. Statistics are going to be used by SQL Server to figure out how to execute a query. Now, whenever I go to execute a query, what SQL wants to do is it wants to generate an execution plan. That execution plan is then going to be used to actually execute the query. Now, that query optimizer there, what it's going to do is it's not necessarily going to find the optimal way to execute a query. It's going to try, but it's also trying to balance out two goals. That not only does it want to figure out the fastest way to execute the query, it wants to figure that out as fast as possible. This is where statistics come into play. Statistics store information about the data that's inside of our indexes and our tables. You can think of it a lot like Cliff Notes. That if you remember back to the days when you were in school, or maybe you still use them today, and you wanted to find out a little bit of information about a book, putting together maybe a book report or otherwise, then what you did was you grabbed the Cliff Notes, and that gave you an overview of what was in the book, and sometimes it maybe provided a little bit of additional insight, so that way you knew how to best tackle that book. Well, statistics work the exact same way. Statistics contain information about the data that's contained inside of indexes and tables. SQL will utilize those indexes to figure out how to best execute a query. Now, fortunately for us and for our DBA and our developer, SQL will do a pretty good job of handling statistics on its own, that generally speaking, we don't need to worry about it. However, there may be some scenarios where a database administrator or database developer will want to go in and manually manage indexes. But for the most part, the job that SQL is going to do will be just fine.